so frustrating about Ashland's experience is there's no colorable argument, legal or moral, for what happened to you. Like, none. And from a single leg to stand on, from a policy perspective or a legal perspective. And that's what's so frustrating, and why the answer should have been what you pointed out. We got it wrong, we apologized. When I was in college, any organization could set up a table in the dining hall to introduce a new group or to advocate a group they already had. And there, some days it would be a conservative religious organization, and other days it was a very liberal group. And
wait, and the sky didn't fall? Because that's this bill.
The sky didn't fall, and me, I kind of like to argue when I was young too, I would go and I would fight with everybody because it was fun to fight with people. So there's no justification for it. And then as the senator pointed out, and this comes from like 100-year-old Supreme Court precedent, reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. I can't articulate my political views outside Rob's bedroom window at 3 o'clock in the morning with a bullhorn or anything else, right?
Particularly after I called the cops out.
Exactly, well, I'm going to get arrested too. So it's not hard to come up with a balance here. Don't disrupt classes, don't do something that's too loud near classes. You're outside trying to get people to join a new organization. If you had tried to be disruptive, you couldn't have been, right? And you weren't trying to. So it is extremely frustrating. I'll add just two other things. One, you have to be able to learn to argue both sides. And the best way to do that is to hear the other side and engage with it and really listen to it. And sometimes to even take a further step and actually defend the other side. Okay, so it's no secret, as everyone knows, I'm a liberal. I'm very pro-choice. I think Roe was correctly decided, and I was very disappointed by the not unexpected ruling in Dobbs. But when I was a 2L in common law, I was on call the day we were doing Roe. And I decided, since I went to a law school that was about 90% liberal, 10% conservative, and the conservatives never spoke up because they were afraid of being shouted down, that I was going to attack Roe with everything I had. And so I went after Roe with everything I had. My particular argument didn't work, and the professor beat me up pretty good, but the goal was to try to learn and generate discussion, and that's what we want in any component of the university, whether we're dealing with student elections, or in classes, or with our research, or faculty meetings, you name it. So with that, I will shut up.
I doubt that, but we'll come back to you. Senator, I saw you took some notes, you had some additional thoughts, I'm sure, please.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the comments that you made. I mean, I went to the campuses because I wanted to hear what students thought. And all of you were former students, you're probably closer to the college campus than I am. But hearing that we won outside speech, and it was determined illegal. Well, why is it we can't win inside speech? If we go to court on this, they're going to lose. I guess they don't understand that. The biggest, as I heard this debate happening among administrations in higher ed, this is just the way I take things. And you hear maybe what I don't say, or maybe I don't hear the way you say it. But what I heard administrations saying that college students are too immature to handle free speech inside. That's what they're saying. You're just not mature enough to do that. And if you were, we wouldn't have all these disruptions. So you say, well, how many disruptions do you have? Well, not very many. Well, I guess they're pretty mature. And the students said things like, we're paying $20,000 a year to go to U of A. Some people $30,000 a year or more out of state go to U of A. And they're going to disrupt class. And they're not going to be focused on their grades. You got to be kidding me. That doesn't work. That students outside are going to be marching down the hall for whatever left or right group you have. Well, time, place, and manner. You can't do that in those areas. It happens in common areas where you can do that. So when you hear administrations talk about this, that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid that you as students, even here, are not mature enough to handle free speech inside. And that's really distressing. But I think in the end, we're going to prevail. This idea that I heard over and over, it's exactly what you said. Keep your mouth shut. Because if you disagree, there's going to be repercussions. Did you really lost discussion points for that day?
I did.
Yeah. I mean, how can that happen? In Austin, the University of Austin, I just read it on the internet, if you can find it and point me to it. University of Austin now has a whole college based on free speech. I'm going, what? You don't have it, you've got it, everybody's got it. But apparently they don't. Apparently the colleges and universities in the state of Arkansas are shutting down free speech inside. And the programs they're talking about, we're going to talk about these free speech issues that nobody wants to talk about. We're going to talk about religion. We're going to talk about gender identity. We're going to talk about women's courses. We're going to talk about race. And they're acting like that's some big deal. Folks, it shouldn't be. It ought to be discussed in every campus, everywhere that it's appropriate for that to be a part of the lesson. You ought to be able to talk freely about that without feeling like you're going to get kicked out of class, lose discussion points, or be on the teacher's bad side. This bill doesn't go far enough to stop that. But it's a step in the right direction to keep people, professors mainly, from excusing, taking away points or bullying students into what they want to do. I actually asked the college librarian, so is the noise level vary in your library, like on football day, on Halloween, or Christmas, or whatever it is, that you're having varying degrees of disruption in the library? And I said, so who's in charge? And she said, I am. So if you've got a group one day being at this noise level, and that's okay, and they come in at another day, and they're doing this at the same level, and you tell them to be quiet. I said, how does that work? And at what point does a student, well, the librarian responded, I'm in charge, pretty much, I'll do what I want. That's what I heard. She didn't say it like that, that's what I hear. And and I asked her what repercussions, what can the student do to challenge what you're saying? Boy, she never said another word the rest of that time. She did show up today to speak against my library bill, but that's another story.
Well, thank you, Senator.